Hey, yo, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, it is Thanksgiving this week. The holiday season has begun. Want to wish you all a safe and happy holiday season. And think this is one of my favorite weekends, as I mentioned in the last posting. And plenty of horse racing to go around. And the fairgrounds has a full card on Thanksgiving. And so we're going to take a look at their late pick five sequence and see what we can come up with. So let's do that. So this is the Fairgrounds Thanksgiving Late Pick 5, and it's races 6 through 10 on Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 23rd. And if we look at the first leg, it's the sixth race. It's an N1X allowance for non-winners at 2 lifetime, running a mile and a 16th on the turf for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And this is, the shape of this race is a little hard to define. You don't have you got a lot of horses kind of coming in with pretty good form, not great, and so it's just one of those kind of funky races. Um, as far as the speed scenario, Vormlander is really the only true front runner in the group. However, he's just simply not good enough, and I don't expect him to be around late. But Mike said halfway decent fractions. He's going to get some pressure from Storm Bay in particular, and maybe Haystack a little bit. But it's really, in trying to find the horses in here, I'm looking for form, particularly later in the year. You want to see horses in good form who still have that last progression in them. And so we'll just look at them from Haystack or Storm Bay. We'll take a look at first in the number 2 hole. He's another for the ubiquitous Cherie DeVoe. She seems to be everywhere. Every time we do a pick 5, there's Cherie DeVoe. She's had a terrific year, and she's an up-and-coming trainer for sure. I think she's about ready to get herself on the national stage a little more prominently than she has been. This one looks kind of played out at the moment, progression-wise. He had a decent stalking trip in class in the last race, and he's now firing fresh. 3-year-old this late in the year who hasn't made that another jump, then you kind of have to start wondering if they have it in them. But maybe we can give Cherie DeVoe the benefit of the doubt, and maybe this one fires forward fresh. So we'll include Storm Bay. I kind of have a feeling under is probably more likely, but I think is one of the better contenders in here. Haystack is coming in third off the layoff, and for one that is progressing, seems to be. I think that the last race showed a little bit of a jump, so it's logical to expect Haystack will make another move forward. The cutback in distance is definitely going to help. Now, the only couple of drawbacks are that you do have, you can't get out of your mind, in my opinion, the fact that this one was trained by Chad Brown, and Chad Brown couldn't get more out of this horse, and now Whit Beckworth has him. I just kind of have that in my mind, like, maybe they just gave up or it just wasn't working. But this one has some quality. I think in this field, she is a fit. But I just kind of have that lingering, so pardon me for that. There's no Flavian Pratt in this one. You get Jaime Torres, who is an up-and-coming rider, but he's still learning on turf, and that's kind of my concern. I love the 8-1 price. I think that's a terrific. If we get anything close to that in this race, I think that's an excellent value. But Haystack, I think, is a win contender in here, but I just have a couple of reservations about him. Trying to find horses underneath in this one was a little tricky. It looked a beautiful Navigator, and just doesn't get it. Now, Kenny McPeak is one that can surprise on occasion, but this one there's no really defining angle to get excited about. There's no coming off the layoff. There's no change in equipment. Nothing like that. This one just sort of runs around the track. So I can't get excited in the 9-2. I just don't like that price at all. So just telling you why I'm not considering Beautiful Navigator. Saki wasn't that bad in his last at 32-1. So he's coming off of a decent race. and so probably is in pretty good form. You're likely going to get, I'd like to get 32 to 1. We're not going to get that, but something around 8 to 1 is still okay, I would think. And probably underneath is more likely, but for value, I throw him in the mix. Uh, Paint Me Perfect. Took a few bites to break the maiden, but looks like the light bulb might have just gone off. The late fractions for his last three have gotten better each time, and he is the lone closer, so he's going to have plenty of room in the back to make his own trip. You're getting 10 to 1. It's a pretty good value. I don't know how much pace he's going to have to run to, but looks to be in pretty decent form. I'm not sure I want to take him on the front end. I think other horses more forwardly placed will likely be a better bet here, but I think he's one that you definitely want to include. LA Fort, this is one I like in this race. You got a horse with some good back form and good speed figures in the past, and that would win here. And Ray Handel is 33% second off the claim, and this one had a good finish in a starter off the bench. So there's not a lot of pace to run to, but this one has good form, and I really think that's the key more than anything else. 5 to 1, I think, is an excellent price. So if Storm Bay or Haystack get hammered a little bit, or even Beautiful Navigator, that sets us up well for LA Fort, and I consider her to be the prime win candidate in this race. The second race is the 7th, and it's an optional claim for 100,000. Non-winners a 2 lifetime at a mile and a 16th for 2-year-olds. And aside from this being a wide open affair because it's 2-year-olds, just look at those odds. I mean, this is a bit of a head scratcher. There's a lot of different ways to go here, but there are some interesting horses that I think bear closer scrutiny because they, obviously you got to have a price in this race. I think Tipsy Tales is pretty interesting, and for a couple reasons. The last race was rated higher as a race rating than any other race any of these other 2-year-olds have run in, and Tipsy Tales won it and got the highest class rating of any horse, only equaled by Awesome Ruta, running in this field. He broke slow, which of course is a concern for a horse who likes to be on the engine, but he hustled up and they ran red hot fractions. It was 21 and 44, and he had to duel all the way down the stretch and still had the grit to come up with the win. So that is an ultra impressive race, in my opinion. And yes, he was a candidate. It was a Century Mile track. It's kind of a small, it's like a Delta Downs or kind of a small track or Thistledown like that. But that was a truly nice effort. This isn't a superstar field of 2-year-olds either. So at 12 to 1, I think you're getting really nice value. And if we get anything close to that, I think this is a horse that has the potential to wire this field under the right circumstances, given what I saw from that last race. So don't underestimate Tipsy Tales. I think it's one that we should definitely include. Now, it gets a little murkier when you start looking at some of the other horses. Maycock's Bay, we know how dangerous Michael Stidham can be with shippers. We just saw that over the weekend. And, that race was just a total hunch that the horse was going to run big and did. So Maycock's Bay has shown a little bit of promise. And Michael Stidham is 18% with first-time rooters. And this one has shown a little promise, though. It had kind of an eventful trip last time in the Bowman's Mill, and didn't do a whole lot. Maybe you can draw a line through it. Maybe you can't. I'm not sure. In my opinion, the signals are awful mixed with Maycock's Bay, and by no means is it just put a check mark by this one's name because of Michael Stidham. I think you got to use because there is the likelihood there'll be improvement here, but I don't think it's cast in stone at all. And the same could be said for blown cover. Yeah, it's Brad Cox. Okay, first time LASIK, 36%, and you look at this horse and say, well, all systems are go. But I'm not ready to give the guaranteed seal of approval just yet. He didn't beat very much at Indiana Grand at all. And the thing we've noticed about Brad Cox is when he sends horses to break their maiden at Indiana Grand, they're a little disappointing later on. And most notably, Giants Mischief comes to mind. So, you keep, I get that in the back of my mind, and I just look and say, okay, yeah, he won. He was supposed to win, but he did so do so convincingly? Not really. So I don't think blown cover is a tepid favorite. I mean, we're going to use, of course, it's Brad Cox, but I don't think he's a lock to win this by any means. So blown cover is one that I wasn't that, I'm not really that impressed with for a Brad Cox horse. Sneed is steadily improving, and he's getting LASIK for the first time for Brendan Walsh. And it is interesting to note that there'll be no Tyler Gaffalione for this one. But he did overcome a tough start in the slop, and he got up in time. So this is another one who ran a pretty impressive race last time, and another move forward is probably likely. So I think Sneed is a serious contender in this race for sure. And then we go down to Awesome Ruda. And you look at that maiden win by 9 lengths and go, wow, but really didn't beat a whole lot in that maiden score. But he did do it with style, and that's the kind of win you want to see when you don't face a whole lot, is a horse just blow them away. And he followed that up with a game second in the Jean Lafitte, and I don't think 2 turns is going to be an issue. Coming from behind, can be a good thing at fairgrounds, but if Tipsy Tails can get on the lead, from what I saw from that last race, if he can do it around 2 turns, of course, that's a issue as well. But it's a very interesting race, and I think Awesome Ruda probably looks like the horse who's most likely to win this, especially if he can be a little more forwardly placed. But there are some interesting options to the contrary. So now we'll look at leg 3, which is an optional claimer for $50,000, non-winners of 3 lifetime. And it's running 1 1/16 on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And if we look at the pace of this race, Sailing Solo to me looks like the one who will likely be on the lead. You always want an older horse off the bench to get their best effort, and so he's fresh for this one, and so I expect a decent race. He's a class fit, and he's got 5 straight in the money finishes. He should be the pace. He's lost a step from what he used to run at, but I think he has a chance to take him all the way, particularly being fresh. Probably going to get a little bit of a challenge from Deccan Prince, but I don't see him as, although he is protected at 3, he's he's run earlier in the year, and before the dud in his biggest class challenge to date in the last one, that's really the red flag for me, is that maybe the class might be a little much, and I really don't like the tab over the layoff, but he does have a chance if he can get on the engine, but he's going to have to have his level best and really move forward. So I think Sailing Solo is the one who's more likely to be on the engine and have the chance to wire it. Dracon is one that is always near and dear to me because I got him at Saratoga when he ran that huge effort as an also eligible. So call me a little sentimental with this one. But it was a big race, and he likely bounced off of that in his follow-up race. So we'll draw a line through that. But he's been freshened now, and I think he's a good fit here. He's got a good post position, which he hasn't had in a while. And so I think he can factor in this race, and you're getting a good price at 10 to 1. Desert Duke has kept good company, knocking heads with Web Slinger, Wadsworth, Mustache, amongst others, and he's held his own pretty well. Chris Hartman is good with layoffs, so I would expect another move forward to be likely here. And again, at 8 to 1, you're getting a really nice price, and this is a pretty wide open race with you don't have a really short price favorite or even one at 3 to 1 to look at. So from that perspective, Desert Duke looks pretty good to me. Uh, Big Dreaming is coming from good Chicago connections. You got Jay Love and the Irons and Wayne Catalano, who trains for Frank Calabrese, who's a big time Chicago outfit. And he had decent form prior to the layoff, and when he came back and ran a dud in the return, but he may have needed a race. He has races that stack up well here, so a good effort second off the layoff, I think, is possible with these connections. And again, at 8 to 1, I think he's a pretty good price. So Big Dreaming is one that I think we can consider here. Protonic Power is a really consistent performer, but he usually settles for underneath minor awards. So I'll expect that possibility here. Third off the layoff, he probably will run a decent race, but like I say, he doesn't seem to like to win terribly much, more likely to be under. So I do like Desert Duke in here as a horse who can has the potential to move forward. A lot of good things to like about him, I think. But I also think Dracon is one that looks pretty good. And because this field is so wide open, you'd have to think a wire job is very likely, or very possible, I should say. And for that, Sailing Solo, I think, might make some sense here. But this is a wide open race. Just look at those odds, and that'll give you a pretty good indication you probably have to spread. Leg 4 of the late pick 5 is the Thanksgiving Classic Stakes, and it's run at 6 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. And right off the bat, the thing that whenever you see a sprint where you've got one horse who's going to be on the engine by himself, you have to take note of that. And Super Ocho, I believe, is probably going to have it all to himself. Most of these will come from off the pace, and so he's got a big tactical advantage there. Had a good confidence builder at Delta Downs last time after returning from Dubai, where he was probably in a little over his head, but that's no sin. You can draw a line through that because a lot of times it's just being over in Dubai that does it to him. Having the lead all to himself, I think, is a huge advantage here. I don't know if he has the top end to hang on against the likes of Miles Ahead, but I think he's poised to run a good race. All systems are go, I would say, and so Super Ocho, I think, is one you have to consider. Cowan kept on pretty well in the Bold Ruler. He had a little bit of a wide trip on the backstretch, and he had wicked fast fractions to deal with. And I think he still kept on pretty well, weakened late, but I think that's understandable given the pace structure of that last race. The class relief has to be a plus here. And if you note that he has a hit and miss pattern, this one looks like it's a good one coming up. So for all those things considered, I don't know if he has the top end to pull this one off, but I think he's one that you certainly have to consider in the mix. Chasing Time is extremely consistent, but it's mostly underneath. He is second off the layoff for Rasmussen. The big question is whether his regular race is good enough. I'm not sure it is, particularly with Miles Ahead in here, but excuse me, I think he can certainly he can factor in this race, with a break or two that he could find his way on top, but I think underneath is probably more likely for him. Minnesota Ready is very interesting. Neil Pessin gears up for this meet, and you know this because last year he had a really strong showing, and he was known to say that he likes to gear up for fairgrounds. So Uh, I think Minnesota Ready will fire. He wasn't bad off the bench in the slop, and you gotta love the route to sprint angle here. Pessin, he's 22% route to sprint with a 468 ROI everywhere. At Fairgrounds, he's 38% with a 355 ROI. So right there, that's eye popping, and it's definitely a good place for this horse. He did win here in January last year, or earlier in the year, I should say, and not sure that he'll be able to get to Super Ocho or even miles ahead late. But I think he's sitting on a big one, and at 6-1, you're getting a pretty good price. Looks pretty good to me. And then finally, we'll talk about the favorite, miles ahead. Paul McGee is doing really well at Churchill Downs, so his barn is firing. And this one is running. It's much tougher with aplomb. He's held in there uh, fine against some really good fields. So he's coming here second off the layoff after a really solid second in the Bet on Sunshine. The issue is going to be getting to Super Ocho alone on the lead. But aside from that, all systems appear to be go. So I think miles ahead is definitely the one to beat here. But Super Ocho alone in the lead and Minnesota Ready coming late in a really good spot for Neil Pessin, I think, are legitimate threats to that. The last leg of the Thanksgiving Pick 5 is the 10th race, and it's a maiden special weight for 52,000, run at 6 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up, Louisiana breds. And as it often is the case with these races, this is a pretty wide open affair. Sassy D has back against state breds, has been competitive, and she has a good, or he has a good post to get to the lead and be controlling, which is what he'll want to do. Going to have a pretty stout challenge from Aztec Gem, but I think Sassy D has the look of one who wants to move forward and tactically has a pretty good position. Aztec Gem, I really don't like the tab after being off since July, but Courtney Dandridge is pretty good with 90-day plus layoff, so I'm going to assume that this one's ready. He's been knocking on the door in all 5 starts, so pretty logical and should be on the engine. So Aztec Gem is a logical win candidate, I think. Angelic Knight seems logical with 2 seconds, but keep in mind that they were against weaker fields than some of the better ones here. Has shown some improvement from one start to the, or hasn't shown improvement from one start to the next either. And those 2 things kind of tell me that this one might be a little outclassed, and if nothing else, this is definitely a favorite you have to try to beat. And certainly want to include Angelic Knight in the mix, but I think we might be able to beat this one with others in here and at better prices. Le Monstre Rapide has been off nearly a year and was pretty green in the debut, but Shane Wilson is 27% with second-time starters. And this one is by Star Guitar, the leading sire for state breds in Louisiana. So Le Monstre Rapide, I think, is kind of sneaky in here. And at 12-1, you're getting good value. We'll just have to hope that there's been some growth over the layoff. And I have a feeling it's going to be ready to run. So we have to find value here, and I think this is a good choice. Our Majestic exits a key race where the winner won the next out in a claimer, which is always pretty impressive for maiden winners to win next out. And then the second place winner graduated and showed enough in the debut prior to the key race to think that there's something there. And, coming out of a key race, should be able to build off of it. Going to be running late, which in a big field is always a pretty good thing. So I think at 9-2, you get good value from Our Majestic. So just from the logical standpoint, Aztec Gem probably is the one that makes the most sense. But I do like Our Majestic and Le Monstre Rapide, particularly for the value. So here's what our ticket looks like for the Thanksgiving Late Pick 5. In leg 1, we're going to use 2, 3, and 9. Leg two, race seven, we're going to use 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. I think that's a wide open race and definitely have to spread there. Leg three, race eight, we're going to use 1, 6, and 11. In leg four, race nine, I could single 5 miles ahead at number nine. I wouldn't blame you if you did, but I want to throw Minnesota Ready in there because I just got a feeling that one's going to run a good race, and you get a nice price, makes for a nice payout if we hit it. So I'm going to use 5 and 9 in race nine, and then leg five, race 10, we're going to use 6, 7, 9, 11. So this is a pretty. I think there's some value to be had in this ticket, but you're gonna have to pay for it to get it. It's really hard to be short in any of these races, save for the Thanksgiving Classic in race nine. So that's 3 times 5 times 3 times 2 times 4. That's a $180 ticket on a 50-cent base, but we got a lot of options, and we get a price or two home. Should make for a nice payout. So that's the late pick five, and it's value laden, I think, and there's a lot of options. So we're going to spread a little bit more than usual to try and take it down. Hope for that early Christmas present, like we will at Churchill Downs and all other races this weekend. Hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck as always. And if you do like content like this, of course, please like and subscribe. And we do thank you for coming by. I'll reiterate again, wish you a happy Thanksgiving and a safe and happy holiday season. We'll be talking to you more this week because there's a lot of racing to cover, so stay tuned for that. Talk to you soon, and until then, be well.